If I had to choose between never listening to a podcast again and never watching a YouTube video again, that's a really difficult question to answer, and luckily not one that we're going to have to answer anytime soon. But today, I want to give you a few reasons that podcasts have really distinct advantages over YouTube videos for those people chasing a craft, especially for distillers. How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, and this is Still At, the channel all about chasing the craft of home distillation and making it a legitimate hobby. All right, guys, so I love YouTube. Don't get me wrong. YouTube's not going anywhere. Literally, the reason that this channel exists is because I spend a whole lot of my spare time watching YouTube videos, and that kind of inspired me to give it a crack myself and to find a creative outlet. But since then, I've also found podcasts, and they have changed my life. I love podcasts. I honestly don't know which I love more, but podcasts do have some distinct advantages for distillers. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you a few hints on how you can get into listening to your own podcasts if for whatever reason you have never done this before. First, let's give a really quick definition of what the hell these things are, and then we can get into those reasons why they rock. A podcast is an audio-only file that you can download from the internet. You know, you can throw it on your phone, on your computer. Because it's audio-only, the file size is so tiny. It's easy to store heaps of them up. You know, you can load up 10 before you jump on a plane and have them there ready to go. And there is podcasts on everything. It doesn't matter what hobby you're into, what entertains you, you know, what skill or profession you're trying to learn. Chances are there's a podcast out there or multiple podcasts out there for you to listen to with awesome content that's really going to either entertain you or help you out. Reason number one that these things are absolutely awesome is that you can get shit done while listening to them. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to drive a car while watching YouTube videos. It's pretty hard to wash the dishes or go for a bike ride or whatever it happens to be while watching YouTube. That just doesn't work for me. Maybe some of you crazy cats can do it. Please don't drive and watch YouTube. My point is that you can go about your daily life and still be getting information or entertainment in a fairly unobtrusive way. It even gets to the point, guys, where I now look forward to getting into the car to drive for an hour. I look forward to washing the dishes after dinner because it turns into me time. I get to put a podcast on, I get to listen to whatever it is that tickles my fancy at that point in time, and I get to get fully immersed in it. It also means that the addiction and the bullshit of these things kind of gets out of the way a little bit. You're not sitting there touching, feeling, staring at your phone the whole time, but you're still getting the benefits that modern technology can provide you. And because podcasts tend to be a little bit longer, most of the ones I listen to are, at least an hour, sometimes 3-4 hours. You're not constantly having to find another video after, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, when, like I say, you're going to be doing chores, you're going to be vacuuming or tidying the house up or cleaning the shed up for a couple of hours, right? I'm sure if you've run a still before, you'll know what I mean when I say you need to kind of be present, but not entirely present with the still the whole time. You need to be there, you need to be focused on it, you need to be able to attend it. But I can totally rock a podcast the whole time I'm running the still, and that's not an issue for me whatsoever. I couldn't do that with YouTube videos. The length of the podcast leads me into my second point on why these things are awesome. YouTube and the algorithm and just the way that YouTube works means that I'm forced, and other YouTubers are generally forced, to keep their videos relatively short, relatively concise. Go and have a look back through some of my slightly longer videos and have a look at the comments about people bitching and moaning about me talking too much. I totally do talk too much sometimes, but with a hobby like this that is so freaking complicated, there are so many topics that I would love to be able to just have a discussion, to be able to talk through something that's complex and nuanced, and there's sort of two sides to the argument, and every one of those back and forths between two people leads off on another tangent that's fascinating and interesting. I can't follow those things. I can't put those things into a YouTube video, but I can put it into a 3 or 4 hour discussion with someone. That's why I love listening to podcasts. The host and, if there is a guest, are able to have this long, ongoing discussion and really get to the bottom of issues to decide maybe that they didn't actually see things that differently to start with. Maybe they were saying the same thing. Maybe they do have two totally different ideas about something, but that's totally cool. There's just so much more that can be discovered when you can actually have a conversation rather than just fighting for a sound bit here and there, to edit down and chop down to be super concise. The third reason I love podcasts is that they don't have to exist entirely on someone else's platform. Here on YouTube, everything I do, I have to have in the back of my mind that the YouTube overlords may hate what I'm about to do, and I can't do that. It's not worth me risking the channel for. With a podcast, the person pretty much owns that podcast. They can do whatever they want. They can't be shut down. They can't be silenced. The point is that they don't have to please anyone else. They can do exactly what it is that they think they need to do, and hopefully, that aligns with what their listeners want to hear as well. It just means that everything can be much more personal and authentic. And lastly, podcasts are able to get guests and situations and topics that a YouTube video is going to find it much more difficult to be able to have access to. So take the Chase the Craft podcast and the YouTube channel, the Still It YouTube channel on either side. The Chase the Craft podcast can literally jump on the internet and call someone anywhere in the world. Thank you, modern technology, you're awesome. And all it takes, the only cost for that person that I'm calling is an hour or two of their time. We don't really even need any prep time. We don't need to discuss in length what we're going to do ahead of time. I know that person knows their shit. That's why I'm calling them. I'm pretty sure if I start asking them questions, they're going to be able to talk on that topic for an hour without any problem, right? On the flip side, YouTube. If I try and make a nice video on location with someone, that may very well take up 5, 6, 7 hours of their time, plus travel expenses and time for me, plus the hold up in their physical space. I've got to be on site. I've got to be at their distillery. Over this side, I can be calling them and we can be, in our underwear or in our pajamas at 4 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. It is just so much more accessible for both the person that owns and hosts the podcast and the guests that he's trying to get on to talk to. And because of that, the content that comes out of it, the information that comes out of it, the entertainment that comes out of it has such a wider scope than YouTube is allowed to have, given an equal size audience or budget. So I'm hoping that the things that I've just mentioned, if you've never listened to a podcast before, have piqued your interest. Let me give you a super, super quick rundown on how you can get these things into your life if you don't have them already. Number one, the easiest way, I'm guessing that almost everyone that's listening to this or watching this is going to have a smartphone, right? Jump on your phone and grab a podcatcher app. You jump into the app, you search whatever you want. Search whiskey, search gin, search little fluffy rabbits, I don't know, whatever you're into. And chances are there's a podcast that'll pop up, in line with what it is that you're looking for. You can follow them, and then every time that person puts out a new podcast, you'll be able to easily grab it, download it, listen to it. If you have an iPhone, they've got an app for it sorted. You don't even have to worry about it. Jump onto Apple Podcasts. They've got your back. Google has Google Podcasts as well. Easy. If you don't want to use either of those for, whatever reason that you have, I use Stitcher and Spotify a whole lot for these things, but there are a bunch of other apps out there. Find one that works for you and you can get stuck right in. If you've got this far, I'm hoping you're going to actually do this. So let me give you some recommendations of podcasts to follow right off the bat. Number one, my man Matt from Single Malt Matters. This is not a strictly distilling channel. It's more about American single malt, but he has a constant slew really cool guests coming on the channel, and they do talk a lot when it comes to the geekery of distillation. Oh, by the way, guys, there's links for all of these podcasts I mentioned down below. Number two, you can't talk about podcasts without talking about Joe Rogan. I don't care what you've heard about the guy. Trust me, just give him a chance, listen to the podcast. The guy is awesome, and the quality of guests he gets on his show is bonkers. The best thing is, if you're not into MMA, don't listen to the MMA podcasts. I sure as shit don't. A physicist through to a rock climber, you get the idea. Just anyone that does cool shit, he'll talk to. I personally have to recommend, and I have to recommend the Brewing Network, because they're the people that got me into podcasts. I'd never listened to a podcast. I found the Brewing Network. That's how I learned to brew, other than, a couple of people really investing time in me and helping me out. And once again, one of the groups that gave me the inspiration, to actually get off my ass and make this channel. So check the Brewing Network out. They've got a whole host of different shows. It's almost all about homebrewed beer, but there's a lot of information that you can steal from beer for distilling, and they do have a podcast called Heads and Tails, which is only about distilling. Looks like it's sort of stalled out a bit. Maybe we get some love in there, tell them to keep going, and they'll get it cracking again, maybe. Next up is Elias from Distillery Nation. He runs a craft distillery in America, and he has, distilling guests from all over the world come and talk on his podcast. He was actually a guest on the Chase the Craft podcast not long ago, so please guys, check out Elias from Distillery Nation. And lastly, of course, the Chase the Craft podcast. I am only 7 episodes deep at this point in time, but there's plenty more coming, guys. I'll try and get 2 or 3 out a month, I think is the plan. And that is going to be probably a little bit more for the people that are thinking about taking the hobby to the next step and going commercial. Maybe the people that are, really serious about getting down to the nitty gritty sort of geekery details, or for the people that are already in the industry. It doesn't have to be as specifically distilling, just somewhere in the craft beverage industry. That's more what the podcast is aimed at, but there's still plenty in there for the home distiller as well. So on the off chance that I found a few people out there in internet land that are, have yet to dip their toes into the world of podcasts, I really hope you give it a go, guys. I really think you will find it advantageous. And being able to listen to something that you are interested in, that you find super interesting, and you feel like you're being constructive when listening to it while you're sitting there watching the still drip, I gotta tell you, that's a pretty cool feeling. All right, enough of that, guys. I'll catch you at the end of the week with the main Still It video. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.